2-week hiatus,
That's
man.
right.
I'm Mike C. the Champ.
I'm Jared Aja.
And this is Bring It to the Table.
Because we bringing it to the table, man. There's all types of current issues and craziness in this world.
Super crazy stuff
Super
going
crazy.
on,
Every day. You just said a freaking asteroid almost hit us.
Man, just
right
by the earth. And nobody knew. Because I just asked everybody in here and they were like, what?
But it happens all the time.
It does.
I mean, like, we are literally...
They said this one was real close, though.
That's crazy.
This is the second one I've seen and I've heard about in 2 years.
So how did you hear about the asteroid?
Just news, man. You got sources.
I watch world news.
That's
I don't
right.
just watch the regular news because the world news tells you what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
All right.
You know what I'm saying? So you watch the regular news, you might get a few shootings, a few stabbings here. But when you watch the world news, you get Ukraine, you get the asteroids, you get dead seagulls.
Yeah.
You know
Speaking of that, there was I saw a clip on TikTok, and it was this Indian reporter. And did you see that? He just went in on, okay, it was the concept of wanting to, we're trying to make this Russia-Ukraine war seem like very like, outrageous.
World War III.
Yeah, right. And the Indian government, like, okay, so right now teams are trying to rally. Russia, China, Iran. They're like, in direct defiance with that new world order that Biden, the EU, or European Union, and NATO and stuff like that are trying to create. And so this Indian reporter got on and was just like, let's not forget that. How many times the U.S. has gone into other countries to bomb and do all these things in the sake of national security or world peace or whatever, and we've put a very positive twist on it, that we're bringing, democracy and freedom to the world. When really we dropping bombs and invading and blowing up cities, just like Russia's doing to Ukraine.
This is why you watch world news.
Yeah, because you get a bigger perspectives. Yeah. And so anyways, this Indian dude just went on a whole list of like, let's not forget America when you did this, 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 and this. And now you want us to like join your side to like completely. It's crazy. Like they're trying to literally mute. They're canceling Russia as hard as they can.
You know what I feel like though? I feel like all of this, you did this and you did that stuff. It's a continuation, and it'll continue to cause fighting and more like hate. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, we are pawns in the, you know what I'm saying? We're like trout or perch in the lake,
sure,
a big ass ocean,
sure.
You know what I'm saying? And the sharks, they gonna eat.
Yeah.
No matter what we do, they gonna eat. If anything
we've learned in history is the sharks eat.
The sharks gonna eat. And at the top of the food chain, the sharks, those guys are making all the decisions. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, COVID is here, and at the same time,
COVID isn't here.
it feels like now it's more leaving, but it's still here, but they knew it was here.
It's funny how it went from like high alert, everything's on like super scary, and then like a couple weeks ago they said it's over.
Yeah, I saw that.
What?
I seen that.
Like we literally were locked down for 2 years, and now it's just like, oh no, don't worry, guys.
But there's
South by Southwest just happened.
There's something else now, though.
What?
The war. That's what it is now. Because
again, it's just like ways to trick the powers that be to. Again, it's like all chess game, right? It's like the politicians aren't the real bad guys, even though they act and do the things on behalf of like BlackRock and all these other, very, very rich and powerful elites. I don't know. It's crazy.
So these are our opinions too.
Yeah.
We just letting y'all know, some of this stuff is fact. You can go check yourself, but a lot of the stuff that we talk about are our opinions. So.
Don't cancel nobody.
Fuck y'all if y'all don't like our opinion.
What's the question, Staxx?
So why did they do all of this? Is what I want to ask.
Okay, I gotta let me hear you tell you what I heard. Okay, so I heard, and then Subha will jump in. Okay, I heard that Ukraine used to be a part of Russia 30 years ago.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Okay.
USSR.
When the Soviet Union collapsed, Ukraine claimed sovereignty as an independent nation. So what's interesting is they were not too long ago. They were part of Russia. So Russia,
USSR.
USSR, not
And
Russia.
they had what is called as Warsaw Pact.
Okay.
And the NATO had called the NATO Pact.
Okay.
So the Warsaw Pact is they all will fight together. If one of the USSR countries attacked, they all will defend each other.
Okay.
Same as the NATO Pact.
Okay.
So why did Ukraine leave Russia? Why did they stop signing?
But the whole USSR collapsed, and then they decided to dismantle the Warsaw Pact.
Yeah.
Okay.
But wasn't that the only one that left Ukraine? Everybody else stayed.
Everybody
right?
left.
Everybody left.
Yeah.
Everybody. You got many independent countries at the end of '89.
Oh, see, yeah, I didn't know.
So you
that.
have
I didn't know that.
Russia, you have Ukraine, you have Kazakhstan, Armenia, Lithuania, Estonia.
So all of those
there are
are
a lot
part
of
of the
countries.
USSR.
And
So
I think
the-
Belarus is also used to part of USSR, and then the Eastern Bloc, Poland, they all Czechoslovakia, they all broke off.
Isn't that crazy?
Oh, that was
Isn't that crazy?
I didn't know about that.
that would have been that USSR was huge, wasn't
And
it?
what NATO was doing is absorbing all of them and putting them into the NATO bloc so they all can defend each other.
And that's why
It's kind of called encroachment.
Right, and that's why Russia was a couple years ago. Putin was asking the NATO to not go after and recruit Ukraine into their team because they're an independent, sovereign thing. They're not a part of NATO and they're not a part of Russia. So if NATO recruits Ukraine, then NATO and America can all go put military bases and missile things all along the border of Russia. And Russia's like, you're not going to come set up missiles and shit in my backyard. We don't feel comfortable with that. And NATO was like, yeah, well, we don't care. We're going to keep recruiting them and get them to join our team. So Russia went ahead and said, no, you're not. Bam.
They just threw that bomb in there.
Bam. You know what I'm saying? And so now I find it funny. Again, I don't know what I'm talking about, but I find it funny that it's like the level of public shaming that is going on. Like, we're not going in and dropping bombs on them. We're not directly confrontational with them because, we're all peaceful and democratic and they, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But the level of public shame and trying to cancel them, it's intense, dude.
Yeah.
They are
crazy.
trying to
It's
the
crazy.
extent to cancel these people quick.
It's very crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me of a quote. You cannot awaken somebody who is pretending to be asleep.
No, you cannot.
Cannot.
And that's what I was saying earlier. Like, one of the things I wanted to talk about was the level of sleepiness in people these days. Like, hey, why don't you watch the world news? Why don't you watch other sources? I'm not saying you have to believe everything.
You don't.
But you have to take in as much stories, as much information as possible to make calculated decisions on
To
things.
have some kind of perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, like I was telling you, nephew, if you watch just the regular news, you get what's going on here and maybe in
daily.
Houston and maybe in Dallas, but when you watch the world news, you get everything. And like Jared said, you don't have to believe everything, but some things there you can actually go research and see that shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then
Some things start to make sense.
Yeah.
When it's when you get one line of communication and people's only telling you one thing, when you start to see the other facts out there, and you start to draw your own conclusions, and you're like, okay, I know what they're telling me, but I see it.
Yeah.
We see what's going on here. Okay, so we haven't talked about this in a while, so it's just fun to gab about. But okay, so as Russia wants Ukraine, China wants Taiwan. And so just a couple weeks ago, there was in the news about how there's confrontation and Taiwan is an ally of America. But Taiwan also used to be a part of China not too long ago. Right, Subha?
China claimed to be independent, but if you let's talk about Taiwan.
Let's talk about it.
Most of your semiconductor industry is in Taiwan. TSMC, Taiwan semiconductor. It is used by many companies.
I bought some of their stock too.
Everybody uses TSMC, and it seems they might have some biological labs there too in Taiwan.
Damn.
So, if tomorrow China takes over Taiwan, would everybody boycott made in China products?
No.
Or stand with Taiwan?
I don't think so.
No.
Shit, China makes some of the stuff that, I mean, everybody.
You might have to
makes
close down Walmart and Home Depot and Lowe's
Yeah.
to begin with.
shit. Yeah.
Well, it's like the same thing with Russia. You know, they have biological labs in Ukraine.
Yeah.
And so
33 of them.
33 freaking biological labs where they
What?
create weapons of like the fucking anthrax or COVID-19.
Stop.
Stop.
I gotta drink some water.
33. So again, like you see these independent facts and then you start to draw your own conclusions. Oh, why is NATO going after Ukraine? Why does Russia not want them to have Ukraine? It's like, I don't know if it was or not, but if this was a biological warfare from like maybe China to US or the world with the whole COVID thing, what's to say they're not, why are there so many damn biolabs? And why do we keep having these like bio freaking disasters happening and leaks?
There is
This is
a
fucked up.
New York Post has published an article from Hunter Biden's laptop that he went there to set up biological labs on behalf of Pentagon, and so it's out there.
Oh, that's crazy.
That's why they didn't
and the
want them
big daddy
laptops.
gets, and the big daddy gets a cut out of it.
Yeah.
And I know we just been talking, but this is one of our guests, Subha.
Welcome,
Hello.
Subha. Thank you, man, for coming out to the show and listening to some of us talk
Yes.
things we don't
Quietly.
know about
I'm
quietly.
a fly on
Yes.
the wall.
Yeah.
No, it's you know.
It is always good to observe the news and don't get emotional with it.
Yeah.
You got emotional, then all of a sudden, Karen or Kevin
Yes.
emerges.
Karen's,
Here
the
come,
Kevins.
here is Karen or Kevin.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So Subha, you are a producer, a pundit. You are a
Not pundit, a pundit.
a pundit.
Yes, okay. People believe everything that you see out in front of you, right?
Yeah.
So you all think this is a real hair.
I
Many
thought it
of
was
you
real.
believe, hey,
It looks
you know,
real.
It looks real.
yes, I have been putting coconut oil and the hair is growing. And many people, I went to like a Christmas party like several years ago. I worked for a good high-tech company downtown. So I'm wearing this and walking around and says, this is real hair. Do you believe it? Yes. Now, there we go. This is me. You thought
been
that was
duped.
real, but this is the truth.
Yes.
But of
been
course, my
duped.
beard is real.
Beard is real. Like, yeah, it's not real.
So, I shall put on my hat.
There we go. Well, welcome to
Welcome,
the bring it to the
Subha.
table, man.
And we have Staxx back.
Staxx is back.
Back
What's
You know
again.
what
up?
I'm saying?
You know, I like having these conversations, man.
yeah.
You know, again, like we're just out there looking. I have my experience, you have your experience, and the things I'm seeing are so crazy. You know, all of this money talk as well, man, away from war and stuff, is just things are getting more expensive. Everyone went through the gas shock.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
$4
Yeah.
plus. It's crazy.
California is close to $7. I
It's
talked to
like
someone.
something, right?
$6.59, $7.
They taxing for gas.
Crazy.
There's so much we could say about all that. We could jump right back into all the craziness.
You know,
but
speaking of gas,
tell me something.
speaking of gas, I was, you know, every time you go at a fuel pump, you got to think of this. A man burning with love sometimes makes a fuel of himself.
He's the pun king.
Bada boom, bada bim.
Awesome. I was about
You
speaking
see
of-
people say a sentence or word and I just forget everything. I must tell a pun for the occasion.
I like it.
The
The Punisher.
So fuel, that is fuel pump
No.
I
joke.
mean, with all the craziness going on, man, I still, you know me, I always say I feel like the world needs love, man, and
Totally.
and free thinkers. I feel like people don't think for themselves.
A lot of
anymore.
love and humor.
Yeah.
You know, in this cancel
Definitely.
culture, There are some movies that are made in the 70s and 80s that can never be made. God forbid Seinfeld can't do his stuff nowadays with all this woke culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is terrible. You can't be politically be
You-
correct.
you a
just
Seinfeld
say,
fan?
I'm a big Jerry Seinfeld fan. So if you look up episode number 40, I made an episode about the Führer. It's about Hitler.
Hitler, yeah.
Oh,
I'm
and
a
your
big
pundit
Mel
channel.
Brooks fan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you gotta get the humor at the right place.
You do. I think it needs to be everywhere, man. People need to laugh and smile again.
Because you know what? In the last 2 years, the people have been in prison,
Yeah.
self-isolation. What are you going to do? I'm going to sit in the cage by myself and not talk to anybody, and I shall sit alone and not meet people.
Yeah.
So it is voluntary prison. They call it the prison planet, penal code Earth.
They not in prison. Shit. You don't want to go to prison.
Yeah.
No.
Prison-
This is
But the
this
prison
is
of the
prison
mind,
in
though,
your
man,
house.
With COVID, the shutdowns.
In the
we've
house,
all been
people,
locked in
everybody
for 2
isolated
years.
themselves.
Yeah, people got, like I said, that's why I say, man, if you're a free thinker, you don't get locked inside yourself. You know what I'm saying? When this COVID shit came out, I felt like I worked even harder.
Yeah.
When we were able to go places, I was so relaxed and, I'll just do it tomorrow type shit. But
I got the time.
now,
I ain't going
you know what I'm
nowhere.
saying? It's like now the COVID shit came and I'm like, shit, I gotta do this right now.
Totally.
You know what I'm saying? Because man, COVID took out a lot of people.
Yeah.
And you don't know if tomorrow's was promised or if you're gonna get that shit and pass away. You don't know.
Yeah.
So man, it made me work harder. Man, I hate the pandemic. I don't like this shit. But I mean, it was fucking great for my career. It was great, you know. And some people that worked away from home, it totally destroyed theirs.
Yeah.
I went from 10,000 to about 50 or 60,000 listeners on my Spotify and other things because I made sure while I was locked in here that I wasn't locked in here. You feel me? Because you got to make sure your mind is always, I read books. So when I read books, I came and wrote a song or I watched a movie. When I watched the movie, we're going to get into the movies.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, speaking of movies, there are a couple of movies people should really. They make movies to show a representation of the current conditions.
Remember we talked about
That's
that?
One
what
of
we-
them is V for Vendetta. I saw it
I
twice
love that
in the
movie.
last. It is so much tied into
The
reality
anonymous
of the world.
character. That's when
Yeah.
the anonymous
No,
character.
the story,
really
the
showed-
story,
yeah.
how they got it. And then another movie that people should pay attention to in this day and age of fake news is Wag the Dog. That was done in
Yeah.
1997, but now with the advent of green screen technology,
Yeah.
you and I, with video editing, we
Yeah,
can
we
create
can make-
any fake news.
What's that?
We can just pick some clips from the Hollywood clips and then says this is what is happening.
Yeah. Well, the news got caught doing that. Do you hear they did? They showed an airplane from like an air simulator game, and it was like a Ukrainian ship blowing up some Russian airplanes.
No, I didn't see
But it
that.
was from a video game, and the news was airing it, talking about look what's going on in Ukraine right now.
That's horrible.
It's crazy.
That's horrible.
And what was that Jim Carrey movie where it was like that? He was in a show.
Oh, the
No,
Truman
the
Show.
Truman Show.
The Truman Show is a
Truman
good
You
Show.
know, that could lead us right into aliens and all this other stuff. But hold on, I wanted to talk about something that you were saying, free thinkers, right?
Yeah.
I truly
So
believe.
there's one thing I
Okay,
have to say
yeah.
is at a very, very grassroots level, before you could trust the news, the husband typically lies to wife lies to husband, daughter lies to parents, son lies to parents. There is a trust issue at family level itself. You cannot even trust for your kids or anybody to tell you the truth. It's not like you and me, but it happens at a very, very
That's true.
family
To get that
level.
understanding.
Now take that at your local community level. You expect the people to tell the truth because the guy says, I'm going to make this clean the pool tomorrow, and if they don't, you are there to see it and
Yeah.
then say, hey, let's get this fixed. You take it to the city level, they could be making up stories because they can say anything. You take it to the state level, you take it to the national level. How do you trust that the news media is truthful?
What really bothers me about that, I've lied.
Yeah,
You know,
everybody
Everyone's
lies.
everybody's
lied.
lied. But
I lied all the
what
time.
really
There is one thing like this.
Uh-huh.
Everybody remember this. I am too lazy to tell a lie.
I remember that.
There's a saying from Jordan Peterson. They say, "Never lie." Oh, no, hold on, what was it? It was like you don't have to lie, but you also don't have to tell the truth.
Yeah.
Or it's better to not tell a lie.
No. There's
what
a
is
word
it?
for it. It is better to be comforted with the truth. No, it's better
Be comfortable
to.
with a lie.
It's better to face dejection through the truth than to be comforted with a lie.
A lot of that's
Something
deep.
like that.
That's
That's
deep.
just like, when you go vote for somebody, you just vote for somebody that tells the best lie because they never really get in office and get to do exactly what they want to do.
Because we know it's not about any one politician.
And
it's about the structure and
I'm
like
finna say
system that has been built.
That might not have been their intentions. Their intentions may have been to, I'm going to go in here and change that. And when they get there, there are people saying, you can't do that.
Okay, I gotta say this.
You can't trust the machines that they use for voting because they can easily be hacked. They're Windows-based system and it has the least amount of security.
No.
And you have people out there who are really, really good coders like Ron Watkins. And they have evidence that you can actually...
You say Ron Watkins?
Ron Watkins. So you can basically connect the... It seems the Dominion comes from Canada and some of them are made in China and they have them all over the world. And you can just pretty much rig the elections.
Mike always says it. If it was built by a human, it can be.
You can hack it.
You can
Oh
hack
yeah,
it.
there are so much security holes right now.
Yeah.
Especially Microsoft has the least amount. It is insecure. Maybe Unix. I come from a Unix Linux operating system. Even that can be hacked. There is always backdoor out there.
So let
And
me
even
ask you
Intel processors, they all have backdoors.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you this. Me and Jay
I'm gonna be quiet.
we
Just
were
ask
talking
him.
about the NFTs and the blockchain, and he was like, man, there's no way it can be hacked. And I kept telling him, I say, if a human made it, there's a human that can undo it.
I don't know. I feign ignorance about it. Hey, to be successful in life...
But it's just like a program. It's a run. It's kind of like that, but there's explain it to him.
Well, he
You
knows.
explain it to him.
I'm saying, okay, it's not impossible, but it's near impossible to hack
a little
the
harder.
blockchain.
But you can do it
It's
though.
it probably,
But it's gonna be hard.
theoretically,
Some
you
of them are
can.
hard. I heard that 8kun is very, very difficult to hack into.
But you can do it. That's
You can
not
do it,
saying
but-
you can't do it.
So there's a
It
possibility,
requires
but
more
it's gonna be
effort.
Very, very hard.
But yeah, the weakest ones are these people, some of these companies, they just leave a
So-
backdoor to be hacked.
So this is what I always like. I tell Jay. He just said, if a man made it, it can be broken. You know what I'm saying? And it can be fixed. It's like a car. A man makes a car, and something breaks on it. Then who fixes it? A man or a woman. Let me not be sexist though. You know
let's,
what I'm
Why
saying?
can't a woman fix your
Yeah.
car, Mike?
Yeah.
I know a couple of
Cancel.
ladies on Austin models, and one of them, she's a model, and she fixes cars. She knows
Nice.
in and out of mechanics.
No,
But
that's
speaking of which, let's talk about a little bit about corporate culture and greed. There was now recently on Netflix, a video has come called Downfall, the Case Against Boeing.
I've seen
Okay,
that one.
it just came out just a few days ago.
Okay.
The whole idea is you have everybody trusts Boeing, and they have the same
airplane.
the
Oh,
airplane.
Boeing.
Boeing.
Okay.
Airplane.
So Airbus came out with a model called A320, and it is the most fuel efficient plane. I mean, if I were to fly, I will always fly on an Airbus. I mean, I don't trust Boeing.
Interesting.
So Boeing, they said, let's compete with them, and then they basically used the same old 40-year-old technology, which is 737, expanded it, and then put new engines on it. And then they put a sensor, a single point of failure called MCAS, MCAS. You'll find it all in this documentary. And it's a brand new, it's called 737 MAX. In 1996, until 1996, the corporate culture at Boeing is You find a problem in the plane, you can talk about it, they'll listen to you and they'll fix it. Because they want to make sure that safety is the priority. But once McDonnell
Makes
Douglas
sense.
bought the plane, Boeing, they moved the headquarters to Chicago, and here you have a bunch of bureaucrats who have lobbyists and their MBAs, and all they want to do was drive the stock market up
And make money.
and then cut corners. And then they sold like 5,000 Maxes in one shot. Until then, they were trailing behind Airbus. You have Airbus 320, 340, and 380 is the biggest one. It's your double deck, and they're fuel efficient. So what happened was, MCAS is a system that takes control over the plane. So if you're going too high or too low, it'll take over control, and it was flawed because they had flawed software. It took 2 planes down. One was Lion, which is Indonesian plane, and it just plummeted and killed all the passengers. And then you have Ethiopian Air. A few months later, 5 months later, it also crashed. And what the Boeing is blaming is, oh, you're not an American Airlines pilot, so you don't have enough training. But when they looked into the documentation, these guys withheld the information from FAA saying that MCAS requires additional pilot training. So if MCAS kicks in, the pilot has only 10 seconds to decide between life and death. And they
Jeez.
grounded the plane, all Boeing 737 Maxes in 2019.
I remember that. I heard that on.
It was
Really?
completely grounded.
It was on the news.
But at the end of 2020, they have convinced FAA that Boeing 737 Max is fine, and they're back in service. And what they did, even the CEO kept insisting that it is a safe plane, and he just refuses to believe that it is unsafe. But they fired him, but he got $62 million in compensation.
Oh, damn.
You
I
did a
would like
terrible
to-
job, but
Yeah,
here's
here's
60
62
mil.
million.
Shit!
Hey, but it's okay to have defective computer products, but you cannot have a plane that endangers lives of people.
It's
Yeah.
true. It's crazy.
That's why I say software created by a man is faulty. It might not be faulty to anybody right away, but eventually bugs will come.
Well, that's
Hey,
where the
so
IT
check
industry
out, yeah, the
exists.
people have to check out Downfall, yeah.
Okay, back to free thinkers, right? And I wanted to bring this up, but it was about free thinkers. Kanye West, definitely a free thinker.
I love
That's a
his
good one.
Netflix.
Dude, that was such a fucking good documentary.
Yeah,
you know,
Definitely.
to me, I respect people that ignore the judgment and the in the box thinking from the world, and you say, I'm gonna be a genius.
I fuck with Kanye, but I don't fuck with them boots.
Yeah,
Them
right.
boots
I'm
that
not
nigga-
wearing the Kanye boots, but
I mean,
man, yeah.
but
But I
Kanye
respect
is-
the hustle,
yeah,
right? And
he's
that's what we
straight
share.
up, bro.
We have that commonality of hustler, unique thinker.
Did you say Kanye or cognac? I thought it sounded like cognac.
I think both of them are good.
Yeah, both are good.
You know, the nice thing about not hearing things correctly, you hear one thing and hear something else, is funny. So one day my daughter gets into the car. This is years ago. This is the glasses that I wear for saying puns. If I wear this, it doesn't have any effect. I need to have this big glasses like a wolf. But anyway, what big glasses you have, Mr. Pundit, so I can see you better. But anyway, speaking of the hearing thing, my daughter gets into the car several years ago, and she said, I had lemon glazed donut. And I said, what? Lemon greased donuts? How about a dozen? So you said Kanye. I thought, oh, are you talking of cognac?
Cognac. Cognac West.
Well,
you have a new name.
Kanye has cognac. Hello, I'm Kanye West, and here is my cognac.
Yeah.
There it is.
Well, you just have to
Right.
pronounce the way it is spelled, cognac.
Kanye's cognac. Hey,
That's
Kanye.
right. Come on.
Gonna make that happen, Kanye.
All right, so something I find interesting that's been happening recently is that out in the open, people are getting canceled and censored. And so, like last week, they took or banned Kanye from Instagram for like 24 hours or 48 hours or something like that because he was bullying or being mean to Pete Davidson.
Man, hold on.
Hold on.
Let me give my opinion about this.
Give me the opinion. I find
Look.
that so crazy.
I love Kanye to death. But when you lose a woman, you lost it. You just move on. Take care of your kids and do what you gotta do. Kanye, I love you to death, bro. Do your shit. You know what I'm saying? And the only thing I find fucked up is that nigga was his homie. Other than that, I mean, it would have been somebody else trying to talk to Kim. You feel me? But
I feign ignorance. Is Kim Kardashian his wife?
it was.
Not no more.
I heard of that name, but I
Yeah.
still don't know who is Kim Kardashian. I'm that ignorant about the entertainment world.
Right.
Yeah, man. So
I don't play that shit either. Friends, I ain't
Yeah,
got no
that-
friends.
that's
Ain't nobody
fucked up.
like
Like,
we
man,
ain't
how you-
sharing and swapping and
Yeah, bitch, you not
like
finna-
I got your ex, you got my ex.
Yeah,
You know
so
what I mean? And we all hang out together. Fuck that. That's
I definitely
weird.
understand why he's upset. People like, oh man, bitch, that was his homeboy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That was his dude.
That's
You know what I'm
disrespect,
saying?
man.
It's very disrespectful. So
People
what
out
I'm,
there running like that though.
Yeah, what I'm saying is shit. Fuck it, Kanye, cut it as a loss.
Yeah.
Shit. I mean, you a
Yo, he had a
billionaire.
new piece.
Do
He
your
did cut
shit.
it. He
You know what I'm
said,
saying?
"You
I mean,
gotta
it just,
cut it."
like I said, it's just fucked up that it's his homeboy. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? I know plenty of us had that shit happen. I had it happen. You know what I'm saying? And it's fucked up.
It is fucked
Like,
up.
you trust these people around your wife and your kids, and not knowing that they looking at your wife like, ooh, that's a steak. You know what
Okay,
I'm saying?
so about this Kanye thing, man, and I'm gonna lead to another point, but it's like he's a free thinker, and the thing I like about Kanye West is he's like, I won't bend who I am for some punk ass check from you, and you know what I'm saying? He's constantly doing things, and so I myself have those things, and I just went through a situation not too long ago where it's like. And I found myself in multiple situations like this throughout my life. But it's like somebody will try to like manipulate you in the form of like controlling some money. Oh, I'll pay you to do this, so now you gotta do it. Ain't nobody gonna turn down a check.
Nobody.
Motherfucker, me, I will. Because you're not gonna control me.
But see, we been through some stuff in our life
Right.
that got us to that point. Staxx, on the other hand, he is still young.
He's like, give me
And
that
that's-
money, I'll work for you.
You know, and that's what Kanye is. Kanye's done been through some shit in
Yes.
his life to where he like, man, fuck that money, I don't want it.
That's what I'm saying.
You know
'cause-
what
Where you gonna take that money though?
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? But like at the end of the day, they, you know, a lot of those people, they target, you know, people his age because they know they're like, well, shit, let's get him 100,000.
I want to digress completely to a different topic. You're talking about Kanye and all that stuff, right? Do you remember the movie Coming to America with
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy?
Yeah.
I seen
So
that.
here's the prince. So this princess comes for the wedding and he says, may I talk to you alone in the
Yeah.
room? So he just goes to the room. Now think of this. Think of the prince as the news media or mainstream news media when you watch that clip. And he tells her, jump on one foot. She jumps. Bark like a dog. Woof, woof, woof. She is the consumer of news.
You know what's crazy? Have you seen Coming to America too?
Yeah.
No, I haven't
So
seen
that same lady on Coming to America too, when they show her, she's still jumping on one foot and barking like a dog until he tells her she doesn't have to do it anymore.
And what is that? Brainwash.
Yeah, the second one is really, I just didn't want to watch. So
I mean,
it's terrible.
it's not horrible, but it's not.
But it wasn't as good as the first one. Yeah,
You know what
for
I'm saying?
sure.
It's a good watch. I watched it because I
Yeah,
watched it.
I watched it.
But you know what? Here is another thing. You and I are wolves. Wolves don't lose sleep over the opinion of sheep.
Straight up.
And that's that mindset, man, of just like not taking shit from nobody. One of the first laws of success is having a definite purpose. As long as you know who you are, then that allows you to see people for who they are.
Come on.
And then you said that, and then you're able to take on the world more critically and as a free thinker.
Hey, when y'all quote that, y'all make sure y'all
Mike
said
C.
Mike C. Hey, once you know yourself,
It's gonna be an NFT.
you know what I'm saying? Straight up, Mike C. quote. I'm trademarking that shit.
To be successful in life, you need two things.
Okay.
Ignorance and confidence.
Yes.
Mark Twain said some of the
Come on,
best
man.
things out there. Another thing that you have to remember, I know many of you are trying to very hard, doing music production and everything, and don't feel dejected. Success comes from going from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm.
Ain't that the truth?
And that's
Keep
why-
doing. I mean, I get like 10 views on my Spotify music. I said I could care less, but that's one of the reasons I have my YouTube pun channel. So at the end of each pun, I put in my music.
Let me tell you this from artist to artist.
Mm-hmm.
Always remember that everything isn't for everybody. There's billions of people in this world.
Mm-hmm.
You might just haven't reached the people that are for you yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's why I tell, just like you said, don't get deterred or just forget the goal of what you're going for. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? If you get 10 viewers, that's because the people that really need to see you haven't saw you yet.
Yeah.
So I tried putting the music out to different labels. They said, "No, yours is not what we are looking for."
You don't even need
But
a label.
I don't need the label. Then
Yeah.
I realized music is very, very subjective. You like rap, you might like hip hop. Mine is progressive house, mine is dance. And I started this pun channel called The Pundit. Everybody loves dad jokes. Do you love dad jokes? Yes.
Yes.
And I just presented out them, and there are people out there. some of them are rolling and falling their heads off, laughing.
Tell
at
us
the end,
one.
oh, you want me to tell
Yeah,
you?
tell us one.
Okay. There is all kind of subjects out there, but let's talk about the physics professor. I assume that some of you have a basic understanding about physics. I guess you have graduated from high
Basics.
school.
Basics.
Okay. So why did the physics professor go near the black hole?
To see what was in it.
He was trying to assess the gravity of the situation. And also, another thing is about mathematics. So here is it. Inability to do multiplication tables correctly is a sign of a bad repetition.
Man, go and tell them your YouTube channel, The Daily Pundit.
Pundit. So
Pundit.
Pundit. There is
Pundit.
a thing called pundit, P-U-N-D-I-T. Pundit is a scholar in the Indian temple who sits there and he reads religious scholarly stuff. He is usually topless. I mean, they don't wear a shirt, and they
Is it a
are
man or woman?
a man. If it is a woman, everybody will be rushing.
This temple is full.
Okay, yeah, I swear, I've been to India. There are some temples that I've been to in South India where they tell all the guys, take off your shirt. You cannot wear a shirt. You have to be topless. Boys and men. It is because the goddess out there called Annapurna. She wants all the men to be topless before you enter the temple.
All right.
It is a religious thing, but
Hey, it's a religious
hey, you know what? It all ties in. If you look at all some of the structures that are out there, like some of the temples, I've been in there, and when you look at all the stone structures that is built in precise conditions, you cannot expect somebody out there with a chisel and hammer to build these temples. And you believe that they would have picked up like a big granite
that's
stone
a whole-
from here to there,
The
two
pyramids,
people.
the temples, yeah.
Oh, it's all levitation. I dare you to pick up a small slab of granite stone from here
Oh,
to
it's
here.
heavy.
You're going to struggle without machinery. You need a crane or forklift to pick it up.
And
But
they
they
didn't have
tell
that
you,
back then.
the history books is so stupid. They tell you slaves move the stones for miles across the desert on
Yeah.
rollers and ropes.
Okay, so look, I heard this thing on TikTok this week about this guy who found this crazy happenstance where he put two beetle wings on each other. Now, so again, I saw this on TikTok and it had some pyramid shit, and it was about how they built them. And anyways, he found that when he put one beetle wing on top of the other, it levitated. And then he did this experiment where he put a string through them, and he was able to levitate like 6 beetle wings on top of each other. So the idea was that they were grinding up these beetle wings that had some type of polarity or anti-gravity, because if gravity pulls down, then anti-gravity would expand or make float, right?
Yeah.
So they were saying that they would grind down these beetle wings and make this powder or concoction. They would put it underneath somehow the rocks, and that's how they were like floating and moving up, wrapping wires or ropes around it, pulling it while putting this underneath. That made sense. That was crazy. We just figured out how they made the pyramids.
That's crazy. So, speaking of the pyramids and levitating
Yeah.
and stuff, you know where I'm going with it, right? So, movies. That movie, I think it was Predator versus Alien.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You remember the story
The
where they said
Antarctica.
the Predator came down and made humans to
Yeah,
hunt?
yeah.
And then we end up getting smarter than them and
Like,
killing
we
them.
fighting back.
And then they left.
Yeah.
And they would only come back so many times. So the theory in that movie was the aliens and the predators made the pyramids and all those big structures. But I mean, you could see in the movie
Probably.
how powerful they were. You know what I'm saying? So
Maybe, maybe not. But there is another interesting movie that came out in 1994 about pyramids. What is that?
it's called pyramids, isn't it?
No.
Stargate.
Stargate.
Me and Alana watched that one. Bro, again, what if Stargates were the exit of the Matrix?
Yeah, but there is another interesting film that people may have forgotten. I would suggest you guys watch Man of Steel that came out in 2013. Superman. It is all about, are we alone in this planet?
I got that. I'm gonna go watch it again.
2013. It's about how he comes to this earth and he's an alien. And there is this huge spaceship that he left behind that is like 5,000 years old in Antarctica. And one of the things is, I have to refer you guys to one of the premier hypnotherapists. She passed away. Her name is Dolores Cannon. She wrote like 17 books. One of them is called, she has a book series called The Convoluted Universe. She had written a book called Keepers of the Garden, and then there is also a book called The Custodians, where she regresses the people into their past life, or they go into a state of trance, and then they talk about how they led their lives during the during the Egyptian times.
You
And
say it's Dolores
Cannon.
Cannon, like
Yeah, she is from Ozarks. She passed away, and she is the world's first ever hypnotherapist, and she regressed people. And in the book Keepers of the Garden, this guy talks about being an alien who came to this planet to see the planet and bring in all kind of animals to this planet. But speaking of Man of Steel, the guy called Carl says they are all bred in pods, and when they are bred in pods, they are given a function to be a warrior, to be a carpenter, and that's all they know. But if you want to get deep into this philosophy, Star Trek Next Generation also has some of these topics.
So what do you think is better, Star Trek or Star Wars?
Star Trek Next Generation. Star Trek Next Generation, I would suggest a few very good episodes.
The first ones?
No, not the old Star Trek. This is the one with Picard. The Next
The new
Generation.
one?
Yeah, The Next Generation, 1987. It's on Netflix. So in there, season 5, episode 25, called Inner Light. The captain gets zapped by a light, and then he wakes up to lead a life that he has a wife and children for 40 years, and he tells people, no, I don't belong to this planet. I'm living in this spaceship and I'm a captain. They think that he is delusional. At the end of 40 years, when he dies, they all say, take our memories with you. And when the captain gets up on the floor of this Enterprise, he says, how long was I out? He said, yeah, maybe 10, 15 minutes.
Sheesh.
It's a time compression. He was out for 10, 15 minutes, but he spent a lifetime out there. And
Hit it.
one more episode. Season 3, episode 2 or episode 3, called Who Watches the Watchers. It is where all these advanced beings, they are use holographic technology to hide behind rocks, but study these people who are of primate cultures And this is what has been happening even on Earth through these Dolores Cannon books, where you have advanced beings always observing you. You have all of a sudden some person coming in who live for a very, very long time. They don't die because they have a different genetics, and you start worshiping them as gods.
Yeah.
That is exactly the essence of this episode called Who Watches the Watcher. They want to treat Picard as God.
Look, hold on. I gotta say some things about that. Okay, first of all, again, you see that all throughout history, right? I mean, we in the past episodes we talked about giants, and if you Google it says that angels or demons mated with human women and created the Nephilim.
Yeah.
And the Aconites or whatever, and those are giants. And so we know that giants were real because we have their bones, they're in history, they're in the Bible. It's all this craziness. So if like that story could possibly be true, what other
There's a lot of stuff.
inherited super genetics or crossbreeding of like spiritual and human? I don't know.
You get a
but
lot
that's-
of truth from Hollywood films. If you look at Dracula,
That's what we saying. That's all I'm saying. It's in the
If you-
Bibles,
if you
it's
look
in the
at
history,
Dracula-
it's in movies.
if you look at Dracula, you can't make up a story if you haven't seen it.
See, I said that. I was like, bro, there's
said
no
that.
way there's 15
So one of the
people
scenes, if
smoking weed and eating motherfucking mushrooms and the
Just
thing,
came up
and
with
makeup just came up with something.
You just can't come up unless you've
Yeah.
seen. Same thing with robots and robotics.
Like, they can't
So
do
Dracula,
something
if you see it, I mean, they are. He just brings a little baby, and they all feed on it. And then this woman, she's dead, and then she brings a child to
Which
the dungeons.
Dracula?
I'm talking of Bram Stoker's Dracula with
Okay,
Gary
yeah,
Oldman.
that one was good.
Yeah, there is some
was good.
truth to that. Here it is. They say that cannibals are there is cannibalism really exists, right?
Oh, yeah.
Logically, but the historians would say, oh, it is this wild people from Amazon who are living in jungle. They could be cannibals. Hey, you could also be possible that somebody is wearing a 3-piece tuxedo. Could also be a cannibal.
Cannibal, yeah.
It goes across the culture. But hey, cannibals are not vegetarians. They are humanitarians.
It's that stuff is crazy when you like step out of the box and not think that anything bad happens, or people don't believe, they don't believe other things that you don't believe, and you start to open your mind.
Yeah.
You're like, holy shit.
So
this
I
is
got
crazy.
a question for you. Have you heard of Hayao Miyazaki?
No,
Have you watched Spirited Away?
no. That's the horse movie, right?
What
No,
is it
it's
called?
not. Spirited Away. I would suggest, if you want to learn a lot about truth, about levitation, watch Hayao Miyazaki films. If you have HBO Max, if you have AT&T Internet, you get HBO Max for free. So, and if you go under the hubs, there is a called DC World and then Studio Ghibli. Under Studio Ghibli, you have all these Hayao Miyazaki films. That is a gem. You want to know about other dimensions, and you want to know about levitation or things like out-of-body experience. Howl's Moving Castle is one of them. I would suggest you watch Spirited Away, Castle in the Sky.
Man, that Spirited Away sounds so familiar.
Yeah, and these are Japanese animation films, and it is so well done.
Movie what?
Huh?
House movie what?
Howl's Moving Castle. It is voiced by Christian Bale. It is so amazing that I've watched them over and over again.
That's cool.
My Neighbor Totoro, Ponyo, Porco Rosso. Those are like, it really takes you to a different world. I'm taking
notes.
I would suggest Nausicaa of the Valley of Winds, where they have giants who are bred for war.
Why we both say the same thing? Yeah, I'm definitely into all of that. So
Me and my son started watching Naruto.
Yeah.
You ever seen that? That's been cool.
definitely.
So there's also another Netflix show that came out recently called Inside Job. It is similar to it's like a Simpsons style cartoon, but it's out there putting the truth out there for you.
And it's crazy that they
that little cartoon on Netflix.
Yeah,
I
it's
was
crazy
just
that they do that though. They put a lot of stuff in real movies, but they put more stuff in cartoons.
Yeah.
You know what
Like
I'm saying?
Simpsons, they said,
Yeah.
"Hey,
Like
how
the
did
Oh
I
my
never watched
God.
any Simpsons." They said, "How did they predict these truth like the trucker
Yeah.
convoy in Canada?"
Yeah.
It was in Simpsons years ahead.
Trump on the
It looks
escalator
like,
waving.
yeah. Speaking of, there is a thing called Project Looking Glass. It is a way to look into the future. One of the guys, he was part of a project called Project Pegasus.
Bro.
And he was a child prodigy for teleportation in the 60s. And he teleported across different places and even back into timeline. So he's a very interesting character.
When I tell you that movies tell you everything.
Mm-hmm.
Look.
Looking Glass, the movie.
Project Looking Glass, yeah.
Nicolas
And they
Cage.
they say it is, oh, I gotta look it up. They just kind of look into the future, and that's how you can manipulate what's going on. Speaking of which, before we end, there's a movie called Adam's Project.
I watched it on
I watched
Netflix.
it, but I
That shit
haven't
is
seen it.
I haven't
live.
seen it yet.
Yeah, he just goes to,
Yeah.
he's a 40-year-old guy, and then he goes into the past and then meets his own 12-year-old self.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's dope. Definitely gotta watch
So-
it. Watch it with your
okay.
son. It's
So
live.
there's a lot of weird stuff about time travel. There's another movie that kind of went under the radar that is amazing, is how you have this higher group of beings. They go to every planet and control the beings out there and then have them in control. It's called John Carter.
John Carter.
John Carter by Disney.
Yeah, that
it
dude
is
that
an
jumps
amazing.
real- yeah.
It is an amazing how these people come in and then they control the people out there. They select their rulers who are the puppets, and then they have to do their bidding.
Dang.
Yeah, man. I told
John
you,
Carter.
those movies, bro. Don't. Like I
And
said,
somebody
that's
said
no
it was
way.
a documentary, and Disney did an
Yeah.
active campaign making sure that it flopped. They didn't want people to watch that film.
Yeah,
Wow.
because that's.
I have it
It
on
was
Blu-ray.
a great movie. Yeah,
I have it on Blu-ray. You
Okay,
can
I have to
rent
check
it
it
out.
out.
John Carter.
Yeah.
Well, guys, that was crazy convo, man. We brought some stuff to the table.
As
So,
usual.
A lot today.
Yeah, a lot of. I gotta
As
digest it.
And I just didn't talk about much of my puns.
You hit like almost a bunch
few.
of puns.
Yes.
Subha, again, what's your YouTube channel? I'll link it and stuff below, but hit
Oh,
it
it is
time.
the Daily Pundit. It's right here. We can just put it out here.
The Daily Pundit. I know. And yeah, man, here we go. Thanks for being here.
Yes, and tomorrow will be my 50th episode.
Of the Pundit. That's
The
awesome.
pun. It is about the cat.
All right. That's not an easy feat, man. 50 episodes.
it's not.
I mean, we
No,
got
I-
number
oh, I
five.
just keep
That's
going.
5.
It just it's so easy for me to make puns. I have the little green screen. I have somebody sends me a pun. I must say it in front of the screen. And every time you see me wear this wig, I have a high pitched sound.
There it is.